Hello and welcome to another episode of Wicked Parley. Tonight we're going to be discussing media and what happens when it goes terribly wrong. But before we get into that, there's a couple of announcements that I kind of want to bring to everyone's attention. The first thing that I want to kind of bring to attention is the fact that we're going to be going on hiatus for the next 2 weeks, starting with, next week. And we will be returning, I believe, May 21st.
Rectamundo.
All right. Hey, welcome back, host. Good to see you, our ever faithful viewer. When it comes to other things, I also want to kind of briefly talk about the fact that yes, on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, most Thursdays, but definitely on Tuesdays, I will be in the Discord, even during the hiatus. So if you want to come by, say hi, chat, you missed us, hey, I'll be there. And, or you can just watch our old episodes, because, there's always fun stuff there, too. Also, one
watch
other
it for
thing.
the cringe.
I know, right? Just the cringe factor.
See how much we've improved.
Or not.
Or not. That too.
Yeah. Also, I want to kind of say that for Patreon supporters, we're going to be adding some new content in the near future, but we have been just swamped with other support and other things like that. So, we really appreciate your support. But we're working on new content for you. I don't want to do something that's half-assed because you guys deserve better. And for those on YouTube, hey, we do Patreon. If you want to help on the show, go for it. Yeah, I know. I haven't been on Discord for the past 3 weeks. There is a reason for that, by the way. I'm just going to say that. It's not just for because I'm like, oh, hi, you're not doing it. That's why I said, hey, I may be there or not. You know what I'm saying? But on Tuesdays, I'm there most of the time. Unless I otherwise say so. But if you guys are upset about me not being there on Thursdays, you can always just, shoot me a message and be like, hey, where you at, man? And
At him.
Yeah, you can always message me directly and I'll usually respond. If I'm available. Anyways, so that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the topic for today. Exactly. And, one of the main things that I want to kind of really point out is the fact that media, whether it be social media, your news, newspapers, all of these sources and many more, take advantage of what we do and what we say and how we feel on a daily basis. They manipulate the very ways in which we conduct our lives, and they do it in very subtle ways. And so I wanted to make sure that we understood that the whole talking point today is going to be general, but I also want you guys to be encouraged to throw in comments, talk about things that you've seen personally that you've kind of maybe felt upset about. And if you're watching this in the future people out there, feel free to throw any of your comments and opinions about any of the things we discuss in the comment section. I would be delighted to read some of those. And if they're good enough, i.e. anything there will be good enough, I'll respond if you'd like. Okay. With all that out of the way. All right. So, I basically wanted to break this conversation into 3 different talking points, and the first talking point I wanted to kind of do is when the media overdoes it, when they tell stories that are not important, i.e. fluff pieces. What are some of the impacts that those particular things have on people who listen, people in their communities, and perhaps things even beyond that? And with that, Rose, did you have any particular thoughts or opinions on that?
Yeah. One of my first thoughts was if I was looking for a fluff piece, I'd go onto YouTube and look at cat videos, okay?
I'm with you right there. There's some cute ones on there.
If I am interested in fluff pieces, I would go on there and look at it myself, because I can find cat videos, I can find fox videos, puppy videos, bunny videos. I can find them all there.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
But if I'm paying attention to the news for whatever reason, for once I actually listen to the news. I don't usually, because I'm busy, but that's besides the point. But if I'm going to the news, my immediate thought was it should be for something that's important, whether that be to the community, to the district, to the state, to the nation, or even international.
Like world news, world events.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, if I'm going for fluff pieces, I know how to find that on my own time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I totally 100%, am with you on that. I think that's one of the main reasons why we see like non-traditional media kind of picking up its popularity. A lot of people will go to things like YouTube, or will go to certain specific locations, although I don't recommend it, on Facebook for some of their news, because they can't really trust their local news today. And yeah, I mean, yeah, and Host is right. Yeah, Host says
Fox News is 21st century clickbait titles. I
mean, is it 21st century or 20th century, and they're just trying to exist?
How about just media century?
Perhaps. I think one of the things that kind of points at the whole idea that fluff pieces are terrible is when we had a massive volcanic disturbance. Something that happens once in 100 years or once in 1,000 years happened relatively recently. And after like a couple days, suddenly the Kardashians became more important and more interesting, more relevant than that particular story. Yeah, it shows that our attention span as a collective community, a people, that expands out beyond a nation, because not just the United States, the citizens of the United States actually pay attention to our news. It's paid attention, by a wide audience around the world. All right. Our collective attention span is apparently 3 days. And that's being generous. And I think that's troubling. Or at least it's troubling in the sense that broadcasters felt that was our attention span. What do you guys feel about that? Do you guys think that is an acceptable amount of time to spend on a specific topic? Something that could have potentially world-changing, things? I mean, the fact that the climate could change because of it.
My immediate thought about that is that the news is sounding more like a tabloid.
Yeah, definitely. That's
like, with the fact that, again, if I wanted fluff pieces, if I wanted to know about something mundane, like, what do I care about celebrities?
Yeah, I mean, some people, they live their life based on
some people,
what
but
happens.
like, there's tabloids and magazines for that.
Yeah, that's true. But here's the thing. But news has got to be sexy, right? News has got to sell.
If I wanted sexy news, I'd outright go to a place I need incognito mode, okay?
Fair enough. What about you guys? Anybody got any comments? And while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and discuss one of the main points of that particular section that I kind of wanted to discuss. Obviously, I mean, in our particular case, people will lose faith in the information that are presented. Meaning that they're not going to necessarily think that what's being presented is factual or 100% the truth, but a take on an event. And to me, when I think about it like that, I 100% think that this is terrible and we should be doing something about this. Like, we should have reliable news sources, not news sources that sound kind of dodgy and you have to decide, okay, yeah, this works or this doesn't.
This news station is the one you meet in the back alley for something sussy.
Oh my god, what kind of news are you buying?
Hopefully not that one.
I know, right? And hi, Kyle and Backseat. Welcome to you guys both. Great to see you there, and
hello,
thanks for the appreciation. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what's your initial thoughts on that, though? Realistically, other than the backroom dealing parts.
Look, it was a funny comparison. Okay.
Was it?
I think so. It got you laughing.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But then again, not a whole lot. No, there's. Okay, you know what? We're not going there.
We're not going there. We're not going there. We're not going there. Let's see. It tells stories that are not important, and lack of trust in the media. It's just, if you can't trust the news, which are supposed to give you up-to-date information, supposed to tell you like logistics and statistics, just baseline, which I'll get into later. Mm-hmm. The fact that you have to rely on, other forms of media it just kind of boggles my mind that we have to trust stuff that's not the news.
Yeah, that's for
real.
Like,
news used to be the thing that you could trust, like, without a shadow of a doubt. And now it's just like you look at something on the news, it's like, tilting your head back and forth, prepared to throw it in the bin. especially prepared to throw it in the bin if you're very close, if you're like not willing to accept what's written there, which, you know, in some cases makes sense if it's completely dramatized, but that's another thing.
Yeah, and to your response, Kyle, I know of Noam Chomsky. I have seen many of his interviews. I have read a few of his books. I have not seen the 5 Filters of Media, but I would love to research it, and I can totally talk about it once I have a better understanding of it. I very much understand who Noam Chomsky is, though. He's an awesome person, and totally somebody that... It's very unlikely that we would ever do an episode on him, but we might use him as a reference of good ways of talking about sensitive issues. But yeah, if you want to send a link to the show, specifically mentioning that would be expedite my research. I would appreciate it. If not, then I'll just kind of look up just my filters for media. So, okay. Anyways, so.
Yeah.
But so yeah, back to what you were saying though, Rose. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you on the whole needing of a better media. The fact that we can't trust the existing media today is just a problem. And I think it has to do with the fact that media started being more for profit and being more of a lack of substance. We lost when it went to profit. We lost the substance of the news, because news more often than not isn't supposed to be interesting necessarily. It's kind of dull, but that's what it is. It's supposed to inform you of things, not sell you things, not warm your heart. You know what I mean? I mean, those things are nice, and there is a place and a time for it, but the news isn't it. At least that's my take on it. All right, I see the backseat as a response. Want to go ahead and read it?
Mm-hmm. So backseat says, in response to like my earlier comment of it's a problem, you know, if you can't trust the media, the news specifically, they responded, I feel that is okay. If we can't trust the news, it is our duty as human beings to find our own truth.
Okay, backseat.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not, you know, hey, I respect your opinion on it. I just respectfully disagree with you on this particular thing. And the reason I think that is because, like, some people have the idea that if you want to have truth upheld, you should be the one to go and fight for it. And what I would say is that if you were to attempt to do something like that, in today's age, money would literally beat you down. You would never even get close to attempting to get that kind of change, and you wouldn't be allowed to seek your own truth. Because if you look at the way in which take media off the table for a quick second, and think about how everybody who basically goes through, like, let's say, like higher education, it gets indoctrinated in a liberal agenda. Not necessarily that liberal people are bad, or even necessarily that like an agenda inherently is bad, but the fact is that you're not given the freedom to understand multiple perspectives. You're taught only one. Showcases just how far people are willing to go to manipulate other people. And so I strongly believe that if you want to actually do your own news, even if you were to make your own news network, it quickly becomes tainted as you begin to compete with what exists already, which is why the whole system itself is probably going to collapse. That's my viewpoint. I also see that host responded with something funny.
So third-party Chinese knockoffs are wild. Got a food thermos that's been photoshopped into an IKEA kitchen display.
Oh, that's fun. That's cute. Thank you, Chinese, for doing all sorts of weird knockoffs. I will mention one thing, though. Years ago, I went to an anime convention where I was trying to get a giant Gundam figure, only to find out that it was basically like a knockoff, and instead of it saying Gundam, it was a Gundam. It looked just like the RX-78, or 79, but it was like RX-78 instead. And like it said Gundam instead of Gundam. It was fantastic. Alright, then Kyle has another one on the message.
Yeah. So, Noam's 5 filters are basically this. News exists as a for-profit business placed in a network of power. Therefore, news exists to reinforce profit and power, not challenge it.
Well, considering what I researched for this particular topic, I would say that is exactly what I saw. Like, that is exactly perfect, which is, of course, not surprising considering
Not surprising, but still pretty darn disappointing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of a predictable force if you think about it, right? Like, you put profit in the play, you put a business uh, which has stakes in front of anything. Whatever is going to be in the service of that particular business is always going to be the thing that is taken seriously, and everything else comes second. So when you deal with with information brokering, like a
Mm-hmm.
news outlet might do, whether it be a social media, site, whether it be a national broadcast, a radio show, whatever, right? They're going to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever's in the best interest of making sure that program still exists tomorrow. And so if it means selling a story to get advertisers, revenue, whatever the hell it is, then they're going to do it. So that way they can exist. And especially considering how much uh, basically media has been splintered because of all the different ways in which people can disseminate information,
Mm-hmm.
they're really in a power struggle here. So it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, that's interesting. Thank you very much, Kyle, for presenting that.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. The next main thing that I want to kind of go through has to do a little bit with what we've been already talking about, which is the fact that some people get influenced by what's presented, and the fact that because a person will use their influence to present certain like topics, certain points of information, they sometimes are able to reach other groups that they wouldn't normally get to. And this sort of behavior is done in a multitude of ways, one of which is political, which we will get to later, but it is a very, we'll say, twisted form of manipulation. And I kind of want to know, what are your thoughts on that, Rose?
About people of influence, reaching out to other groups.
Sort of, yeah. Like the idea that perhaps a person will utilize a platform to gain access to a group of people they otherwise wouldn't, to manipulate and bring them perhaps to their side, or do something that would cause something that would be beneficial to that particular user.
Mm, to me, that's a little difficult because, well, granted, you already made the mention of they're using it for their benefit, for their profit,
Mm-hmm.
And is that sort of thing that's sick? I don't truly agree with. Like, I know people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you use, the way I see, the only time I see that being okay, where you use another platform to reach people from a different demographic than you originally had.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason that I would consider that a good thing is if you're trying to, just spread some basic information, trying to be as unbiased as possible to, get the news out there, get the information out there, let people be a little less ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
It's when that changes to you're actively trying to like sway them to your side that it gets a little into the kind of gray area for me, because it depends on how you do it too.
Okay. I mean, let's. Do you want me
Yeah, go for it.
to use an example, perhaps, of what I'm specifically referring to?
Sure.
Okay, so in Africa, it is a very common practice for Chinese, people to go there and sell their services, whether it be giving them construction materials or hiring the construction of new roads and bridges and houses and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will then use their particular influence to say, okay, if you do not agree with our particular agenda, we will shut you down. We will stop the contracts. We'll stop the building of these necessary things because you're not going along with what we say.
That sounds like extortion.
And yeah, and it is. and it extends even to the ways in which they conduct their media. So they have to be pro-Chinese when it comes to all of their positions. Otherwise, they lose the support.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, if you can't sway them to your side using like above board means, then that means that there's something a bit wrong with it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter like whether it's a small thing that's wrong with it or a big thing that's wrong with it. It just means that like there's something that somebody will not agree with, and that's usually okay. Yeah. That's why discussions exist. That's why debates exist. But
that's why this channel exists.
I can definitely see like why some people would go for that, because it's like some people are just that delusioned enough to where they think it's their way or the hell way.
And host, before I'm not going to even have her read that part, that last one, but you're 100% right. It runs way deeper than media. I'd like you to respond, if you could, to Kyle and host's previous things, if you don't mind.
Sure. So Kyle says that people use platforms to, quote, get people to their side, unquote. I would say that might exist, but I don't know if that works.
Trump being elected to president is an example of it working, unfortunately.
Whoa.
I do not support him, but I would say that like his manipulation of the media, even though it had negative connotations, allowed more people to view him and gave him the upper hand when it came to debates, which you could arguably say that he absolutely destroyed the whole idea of a debate, and he didn't even really debate at all, but he was able to manipulate people into believing that he was a good candidate because of his tactics and use of certain platforms and media to promote his particular opinion. And so it gave him an extra set of reach that was not available to the other candidate. So, I mean, yes. And, yeah. Okay.
I do not have a comment on that entire mess because, not gonna lie, I did not pay attention to those debates.
I unfortunately had to write a paper about it, and it made me sad and killed a part of my curiosity inside for a while.
Lovely.
Yeah. Not really, no.
So, moving on to hosts?
Yeah, go on, host.
So, host says, influence and power is real volatile. Sometimes nobodies rise to power while tyrants get canceled.
Or sometimes tyrants don't get canceled.
It flip-flops, like, on a, like, hourly basis.
Yeah, I would say, like...
I was about to say daily, but, like, it goes, like, hourly.
Yeah.
Sometimes even less.
Yeah. Honestly, like, when it comes down to the idea of canceled, period, it's a ridiculous idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, I think that, like, if you really look at the whole prospect of canceling a person, and you're looking about social media itself, it's just it's a terrible notion, because all you're going to do is you're going to open up more avenues for a further splintering of conversations, and so you're going to lose the ability to conduct a conversation. And to me, that's the reason why canceling and cancel culture is bad, because you push out not just the people, but all the tools by which it upholds the structure of society when you do something like that. And so it's like answering the solution of, you know, an eye for an eye kind of thing. And the whole, if you do it eye for an eye, the whole world's blind kind of thing, except for it actually happens like in that circumstance. And I don't think anyone really wants that. So, yeah, I see the host's funny comment.
Yep.
You want to go and read it?
Sure.
I need a good laugh.
So Trump didn't need to run through social media. He could have grabbed a victory with his huge hands.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say this now. There's another way he could have grabbed it that also apparently works for him, and only stars.
Apparently.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the next topic. Okay. One of the things that I kind of wanted to mention, and we've kind of talked about a little bit of politics already, so unfortunately we're going down that road a little bit here, but I promise you we're not talking about politics too far. It just has to do with the way in which people are, you know, manipulating. And so it's going to be a transition of some sorts. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to look at was, how exactly do political objectives dictate or decide the outcomes of how you hear about certain stories in the media? You know, one of the things that I think is very interesting is the fact that, you know, when the wars were going on in Iraq and in Afghanistan, we you know, horrible things were going on. People were dying needlessly. Certain atrocities were going on that reporters weren't allowed to report on. And it was kind of like the idea, if I remember, if I'm correctly saying this, is that by divulging the nature of what was going on, they jeopardized the lives of troops that were working in the area. Which is just a stupid, bold-faced lie of people basically not wanting to be accountable for their actions. And I think that, like, there is a political objective that's involved and embroiled with that particular statement. and I kind of wanted to get some of your guys' takes on it. You know, anybody who's watching, whether they be now or the future, please go ahead and throw a message up there. I'd like to know what you guys think about that. And Rose, while we're waiting, what are your thoughts on it?
So about the whole divulging information would put people at risk.
Well, just the whole thing in general, for the most part. But yeah, I mean, do you think that that's a bullshit excuse?
I think it's a pretty darn bad excuse, to be honest. Like, I get people want to, kind of feel like they're in the right,
Mm-hmm.
which is why, they don't divulge certain atrocities, as you call them.
I would call it an atrocity if you kill innocent people.
Yeah.
I missed. People died. You should be responsible.
It's just like, yeah, that's the thing, is like, they should be held responsible, but I can understand, like, certain groups, because they want the support, they don't want to look bad, but it doesn't make it right. Like, how are you going, like, those are still innocent people, they have families, they've got friends, just as we do.
Mm.
What if we were on the other side of that,
Yeah, I can understand that particular
How
thing.
would we feel if somebody was, committing atrocities against us, and they were taking it like, this is not happening? I just find it kind of disrespectful on either side, because it's like, these are people, they're not animals, they're not like inanimate objects, these are people with lives.
Yeah, to me, I think they have lives, they matter. It's important that you understand all the things that are going on, so that way you can make an educated decision about what's going on. That way you're not making irrational decisions, and you aren't being persuaded by your emotions over your ability to consider the situation. And I think that,
I
like,
have another thought.
what's the thought?
No, finish yours. I just wanted to let you know I had a thought.
Oh, sure. I think the media likes to play games with people. I think that there is certain people who gravitate towards pursuits in media with the sole desire of wanting to have a little grasp of that power and that influence, because this is an area in which they think that they can easily get into. And to me, I find it a little disturbing.
Fair enough. Just a lot of things are disturbing in this day and age, but like,
So
Anyway.
your thought?
yeah, so they essentially, when we, have these crimes happen, and the media decides to hide them away, whether because they're essentially bought out or somebody tells them they're not allowed to,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of makes me wonder how much of this is influencing people to think that this is kind of okay, especially like on the field. If they do this and they're not getting, punished for it, because I don't know, they're not telling me if somebody's punished. They're not even telling me it's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, how badly does it also influence their mental morality too?
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
definitely.
if they can get away with this.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, like, there's that whole notion that's put forth that, a society's values directly impacts an individual's values, and so, there's a cumulative effect of, I do X number of bad things, therefore I am this much responsible for them. If I'm told I'm not, then why do I care about them? In a very like lesser way, you can think back to one of the Milgram studies, when it came to like conformity, and like looking at exactly like what was going through the minds of individuals who were being like, yeah, sure, this person's in charge, I'm going to continue to do this. It's like, that's not right. And I think media, I think media can kind of also do something like that too, because they have a perceptual level of authority. But I also think that a lot of people have the opportunity to kind of just distance themselves from the nature of the subjects in hand, and it will, at the very least, not make direct action either for or against issues that they may not necessarily agree with. Because
remaining on the fence about everything.
Yeah, because I think it endangers them in some ways. Because, I mean, especially now, I mean, like, that's what I'm not...
You choose one side, you will get absolutely slaughtered by the other.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's some people who will lose their jobs over positions. Yeah, they make a post, or like a random post, like on like Twitter or like Facebook or something like that, right?
Have to be careful of which one's your public account versus, your company account.
Well, I think even if you were on your public account, or not public, like your private account, if your private account has the message available to the public, like that's also troubling, because there are people who have gotten fired because they were on their own personal account and they had their own take on something, and then bam, fired.
Bye.
Talk about seeing the door because you had an opinion about something. It's like, that's fucked up.
Kicking the door.
This place is a safe space for all people who want to have a conversation. Don't be afraid to say anything here.
You're free to say what you want. It's just
And if you want to
one of us may have a comeback.
Yeah, and if you want to privately share an opinion that you don't want to have any like commentary on, or like other people to see, you can always email the show, and I will happily read that and respond to you if you'd like. And that way you can feel like you have a voice, because that's important. Yeah, and if you want me to share it privately, discreetly, I can do that too.
Anonymously.
Yes. All right, so we've been talking about the political ideology a little bit here, and there's some things that I think that really ought to get discussed, and that is the fact that politicians will regularly, and I mean this regularly, withhold specific stories that threaten or potentially will promote their specific campaigns during certain times. And they'll do this so that way they can theoretically manipulate the voters into getting the most number of votes at just the right critical time. And I mean, this is a true thing. Everyone knows this is real, so it's not like I need to throw up any examples, but like I want to hear your opinion on this, Rose. And while Rose
people
is
like
thinking,
people like to make games out of these things. It's like holding your cards close to your chest and then kaboom. It's honestly a little bit annoying because depending on the timing, you might not have the time to think on that information either. To fact check it, cross check it, form your own opinion, and then make a decision. Because all the decisions that I've made in my life that I've regretted have usually been because I didn't have enough time to think on it, so I was making a half-assed decision, to say the least. And that's kind of what it seems like, forcing people to quickly make a decision without all the facts.
Yeah.
And depending on how they spin it, will absolutely get the side they want.
Yeah, I definitely can understand that. I mean, I leap all the time without thinking, and boy, do I pay the consequences regularly.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, and host, god damn it, man, with cheese, loaf of milk, butter, and as a milkshake. Come on now.
I don't like that image. Why
are you trying to mess with me, man? Like, why?
It's like saying ketchup is a smoothie, huh?
Please, good God, why would you say that, Rose? Why would you say that? Like, why would you say that? That's horrible. We're talking about this. You're talking about You know what? Shh. No.
Anyway.
Okay. One of the things that I particularly don't like when it comes to specific political moves, and something that I actually kind of feel like is super despicable, has to do with the fact that certain individuals will utilize public opinion to gain negative publicity just to boost their reach.
Oh,
and then
that common saying of negative publicity is still publicity.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll utilize that particular position to suddenly change any bad perspectives, deny allegations, and utilize that opportunity to create infighting among certain groups in a vain, often successful attempt at essentially gaining more votes, or shifting public opinion in a more positive way at a very specific point. And I really hate it when people do that, because I feel like they are literally manipulating the emotions of the country in a very vulgar, disgusting way. I just think that they should have pride.
Apparently they've got none. They just want profit.
God, it's terrible. I mean, have you ever seen this before?
I try to stay away from that because I know I'll get upset. And I don't have the time to be upset right now.
That makes sense. What about you guys, viewers? You guys seen any of these sorts of things play out before? And do you have a specific feeling one way or another about them?
I know that probably people are maybe thinking I'm a coward for trying to stay away from that. I'm just like, I want to be. No, it's like for me, it's like another reason is just like that's not going to help me be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to make me a better person is if I can focus on my crap.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think anything like that at all. I think that it's better. You know, some people will want to stay into a fight, even a fight that they might lose. But you know what's better? Not being in the fight at all. And that's a real statement. You don't want to get your nose broke. You know, don't want.
No, I don't want to get my nose broke.
Or you know, or break your hand.
I have so many statements about that, but like nothing that pertains to this, so I'll leave it alone.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to go ahead and jump on to the next major topic, the last topic of the evening, and that is the fact that often, you know, not only do politicians, you know, withhold stories, but there can be stories that are sometimes bought and sold, and this often leads to a loss in faith of established media. It also can kind of point to the reason why a lot of alternative media has been so successful, as we've kind of already discussed earlier in the episode. And one of the things that I believe you pointed out earlier, Rose, had to do with the fact that often when people are presenting a biased story, they can use that to gain some sort of influence or manipulation.
Yeah.
And
pretty much.
Did you want to expand on those particular thoughts a little bit?
Let me, like, I know one of the things is that, you know, if you can sway people or let out information in a timely manner such that, you know, you only have so long to think about it, if people are going to make half-assed decisions, they more often than not make the wrong decision.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, when people
you're going to make a decision, and if had you had another, like, even a day, a month, an hour, could have, you know, would have come to a different conclusion. But that's what they do with the timing. They try to make it so you don't.
I mean, that's why I think it's so shameful that people utilize emotions to sway people. Because often, you know, people are more quickly going to go, yes, 100%, I'm going to do this based on an emotion, and they're going to have a much faster response rather than having having time to think, you know, clearly through all of it. And so, at least to me, it's like, it's wrong, because even someone who might say and do one thing normally in a certain circumstance is going to perhaps do something completely different if they're being ruled by emotion. I mean, there are people I know who are timid, gentle people, but if pushed, if provoked, their anger will flare up and they'll do something that they regret or they didn't ever mean to. And that's just one way those people react. Now, when media, you know, presents stories, people will have similar responses, and so the implication of those particular responses has dramatic effects on a wide demographic of people. And I don't think that these people are really considering those groups of people as people. They're just looking at it as, I'm getting my way and my profits are keeping me alive, so I'm going to continue to do this. And it just, to me, is just, it's rotten.
It's rotten.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even without the timing thing, even if, you know, a news outlet or whatever lets out a story, if they're, you know, buying out certain information or keeping hush-hush on other bits of pieces, you know, you're presenting kind of a fragmented story. And if people don't have the time or aren't willing to, you know, research the thing, it's still a half-assed decision because you're not acting on all the information. You're acting on, like, anywhere between, you know, 0 and 99%.
I would say that it's probably a lot less than 99%.
I mean, like, there are very few cases where you get the 99, and they are very, very, very rare, but, like, they may or may not happen.
I mean, if you were there, you get 99, maybe.
If you were there. Yeah. But it's just, you know, you're acting on not the full story, which, again, usually creates some pretty darn bad decisions or opinions.
Okay. Well, you know, I want to just kind of like leave the situation, the whole discussion at a cell, its entire thing in its whole, just alone. I'm done with it. I'm done. It's over now. Or is it?
Who knows? Only you get to. Okay, no, I'm not being an announcer here.
Well, I want to say, thank you very much for participating in this little discussion today. And I appreciate all you guys' support and all you guys' comments, and hopefully you guys leave some more comments in the future. So I'll be able to check those out and read them over my very, very busy next couple of weeks. I hope to see you guys back on May 21st. We'll be talking about some fun stuff. I do have one last comment and question to give to you guys, and that is that many of the stories that you hear are chalked up to nonsense. They're designed to manipulate and control the opinion of the viewers, which is obviously not a good thing. I don't think you guys need to be told what to think, what to feel about things. I think you just need the news. So I want to know, does this upset you? Does this make you feel mistreated? I'd like to know. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.